Good evening and welcome to our annual parent engagement event. By way of introduction, my name is Eureka Smith and I'm a consultant with the Believe to Become initiative. And so I want to welcome you into this space today. And right now I just need to put a little bit of energy into the atmosphere. So I just need you to stand to your feet real quick. Just stand to your feet real quick. I know you've already met everybody at your table, but go ahead and introduce yourself to your people at your table in case you haven't met them. Make sure you let them know how happy you are to see them in this house tonight. State your name, your affiliation. To make them feel welcome, pretend like this is your house. You're extending them hospitality. If you want to give them a warm greeting, you want to affirm how happy you are that they'll be participating with you in tonight's events. And then once you introduce yourselves one to another, I just need you to put your hands together and just clap. Just clap as loudly as you can. Applaud yourselves, applaud one another, applaud all our volunteers, applaud our school system. Come on, applaud our community partners, applaud everybody. This is our welcome into the space today. And now please applaud me as I introduce your visionary leader of Grand Rapids Public Schools, Superintendent Teresa Weatherall.
Good afternoon. What? I don't do very good holding this, but I'm going to try to be still. What an amazing group. I wish all of you could come here where I'm standing now to see you. Just a beautiful group this evening. Thank you for coming out to share this wonderful, not only a wonderful dinner, but a time for us to come together to celebrate all of the wonderful things that we are doing in the Grand Rapids Public Schools in this community. I want to ask a friend of mine and partner, Reverend Shanae Edmond-Burley, to come up and join me because we're going to introduce the speaker. But I want Shanae to come here with me. We have done this work together for so long that I think it's the right thing for Shanae, and she doesn't want to come and join me, you guys, but give Shanae a hand. Come on up here with me. I really want to just say a few words. I want to start out by thanking each and every one of you. I know that we've been through a lot in this community this past year, but we did it. We did it together. You have wonderful, I tell you have wonderful principals in this room, committed staff members. It is just a great time to be a part of the Grand Rapids Public Schools. And before I go any further, I really want to thank two people that I've known for quite some time, and they don't like to be recognized, but I'm going to do it, and that is Doug and Maria DeVos. They have been with us. They have been with us for many, many years in this journey of education in the Grand Rapids Public Schools. From the Institute for Learning to athletics, teaching and learning, Believe to Become, and the list goes on and on. This partnership has been around for many, many years. From that, we have the Believe to Become staff members that are here, and there's so many of you around this room. I know, I've seen quite a few. All of our partners from the community, I want to thank you for what you've done for Grand Rapids Public Schools and our students. I want everyone to recognize that tonight we are going to celebrate that this is our time. This is our time in the Grand Rapids Public Schools to do what we do best. That is to come together as a team. Parents, you can do it. I want you to know that we're going to put this challenge in front of you, an attendance challenge you'll hear about tonight, but as we have done so many things over the years, coming together as a group, when we listen to our parents, there's nothing that we can't do for your children. You know what's best. We need to listen to you. This dinner tonight is to celebrate your commitment to this district, to your children, and to our staff members. Thank you for coming out. I want you to know that your teachers here are working with our parent groups. We have an attendance challenge that you're going to hear more about. It is a challenge, and those of you that know me know I love to win, And I want you to know, we are going to ask each of you in your buildings to do this challenge, one grade, one classroom against another, and then schools, we're going to challenge each other to get the students in school. We can't do it if children don't show up. The teachers are there to teach, your principals are there to lead, but parents, we cannot do this without you. I want you to talk to your neighbors, your friends, your relatives. Let them know we're here to serve. We want to serve. The only thing that we need you to do to help make this happen is to spread the word. Tell other people, coming to school every single solitary day, from the time the bell rings in the morning until the end of the day. And it's not enough that you're here to hear this message. I need you to take it back. Talk to other parents in the community. Let them know we want them to be a part of this challenge. We're going to have a lot of fun this year as we take the Grand Rapids Public Schools to the next level. We are not going to have them write things about us in the newspaper about our attendance. That's an easy win for us. We believe children should be in school. I was sharing this morning that I have 9 brothers and sisters, and my mother was always happy, and I could hear her say, even now, I can't wait for that school bell to ring. And I think it's because that was a happening place. And we want you to know in the Grand Rapids Public Schools, this is the place to be. Encourage people to come to school. Principals, share with the kids how much you miss them when they're gone. They will do what you ask them to do. With that, I'm going to turn this over because people that know me, you know I'll keep talking. I don't want to do that. I'm going to ask Shanae to introduce your speaker. You're going to love hearing from her. She has a lot of important information to share, but most importantly, I want to take this time to thank you, parents, for coming out, for allowing us to serve your children, and for the administrators and teachers in this room, along with our community partners. I truly cannot thank you enough for sticking with us to make this happen for kids.
Thank you, Superintendent. She just came to the table and handed me half of her speech, and I was like, okay. You know, you always got to be ready. I'm just so excited to be here, and particularly we're excited all the years that we've been able to partner with Grand Rapids Public Schools as believed to become in the Doug and Maria DeVos Foundation. And I am exceedingly excited today because of the opportunity that lies before us and the person that we have been honored to get. She's been to our city before through KSSN and some others, and now she's here to really roll up her sleeve and help Grand Rapids Public Schools across the district. I want to bring to you Hedy Chang. She is the Director of Attendance Works, and she's a spitfire. I'm going to tell you, you're going to really enjoy this today. You won't be bored at all. She is a researcher and author. She's thoughtful about how to move the needles. She knows how to really connect with parents and families. In San Francisco, she really led the charge even in her own school as a parent advocate as well. So she's just done it all. She has some of the most renowned research and best practices in the nation. You cannot pick up anybody's research without seeing her quoted, Hedy Chang, in being the leading thought leader in our nation. She has been a program officer at a foundation, the Walter Haas Foundation. I am so excited about the kind of work that she's done, particularly multi-generational, that she's really, really into that. She's really into understanding how to move the needle for communities of color. And I want you to give a hearty welcome to Hedy Chang.
All right.
Good evening. It is such a pleasure to be here, and it's so wonderful to be here in Grand Rapids. You really are, as folks heard me earlier this morning who were as part of the Literacy Summit, I've sort of been connecting to Grand Rapids since about 2006. You were part of my work in helping me to teach me about this issue of attendance and how do you take it on seriously, because KSSN and I were exchanging ideas quite a long time ago. We have emails to prove it. And it's been fabulous to be able to come in and out of your community, because it's really watching the work happen over time. And I will say, you know, it's such a pleasure to be here with other parents. I have two sons of my own. They are now 11 and 15. And I have to say there's nothing that has been more sobering and rewarding as being a parent. It both teaches me all the things I don't know, but also helps me see my own sense of power when I can see my kids headed on the right path. With that, I actually want to start by actually asking you guys to think about two things before we get into it. I want you to turn to the person next to you, if we could on the next slide. And I want you to first think about this just for 30 seconds. Think about one thing that made it tough for you to go to school when you were little. And think about one thing that kept you going to school even when it got tough. All right? Now turn to your neighbor. Tough? Snow. Okay, I'm from California, but I trust you. Snow, Michigan. Other things. What made it tough to get to school? What are some of the things? Say again?
Waking up.
Waking up. Getting up in the morning.
Boredom.
Boredom. Not interested. Or the school, the class itself wasn't so interesting, and so you were bored. Wasn't challenging you. What else? Bad teacher. Sometimes it can be teaching. What else? Bullying. Bullying. What else? Walking. Walking to school because it got tough in the rain, in the weather. Yep. Yep. The nuns. Okay, we'll take that for what it is. All right, what are some of the things, and I have a feeling nuns might still come back up again here, that kept you going to school even when the going got tough?
My mother.
Your mother. Right in the back there. Language barriers. That was what made it tough, I assume. Okay. What kept you going to school? So we're going to shift him. Nuns. Absolutely. There are nuns and there are nuns. Okay, in the front here?
My mother.
Your mother. What else?
Friends.
Friends. Okay, over here?
Sports.
Sports. In the purple?
Support from the teachers.
Support from the teachers. All right. So what I want you to know is, first of all, you know a lot already. There's part of this is just complete common sense. It's common sense about some of the things that are challenges. It's common sense about what are some of the things that help you get to school. Keep that in mind because that's a strength you have to leverage. What I'm now going to talk about a little bit is this issue of how much attendance matters. And can I get 3 volunteers to come up over here? I'm going to do it on this side of the room. I'm sorry. And hopefully those from you on that side. I need 3 volunteers. All right. So, okay. We're going to try this. I want Sue over here. No, face this way. We're going to go this way. And sorry, I have to figure out logistically how we can do this without, thank you. See, she's seen this morning. She's realizing our show. No, okay, your name again is Sue and Beverly. Go right here. No, stand right next to her. Beverly and Chris. Okay, so we have Sue, Beverly, and Chris. And they, just imagine this, they're all 5 years old. And this is their first day of kindergarten. All right. So Sue here, though, the challenge here is that Sue, and I'm going to move this back a little and Sue will know to keep looking so that we don't have any liability issues here. Sue, it's her first day of kindergarten, but Sue never managed to go to preschool. Family didn't know about it, she didn't benefit, so actually she didn't get like 8-9 months of learning that she would have gotten had she gone into one of your great preschools. So can you take 8 steps? 8 steps backwards. That's like kind of the 8 months of learning. Beverly here. Beverly went to preschool, but her family was faced with all sorts of challenges. There were challenges. They didn't have a car, kept breaking down. You know, she couldn't walk safely to preschool, all sorts of stuff. So she only went like part of the time, and then you know what? After a while, the preschool said, we'll give your slot to someone else who's going to show up and really use it. So can you take 4 steps back? But Chris here, Chris is on. He's here. He's ready to learn. He went to preschool. He's fully prepared. All right. So we have a great kindergarten teacher, and you all got another 8 months of great learning. So can you all take 8 steps forward? So they all got to learn this year. Try and pace yourself. But we got into kindergarten, and so the challenge is Sue and Beverly never learned a habit of going to school regularly. They didn't get it in preschool, and so you know what? Can you take 2-3 steps backwards? So they were both missing a lot of kindergarten. And then we got to the summertime, and Sue, they just, family couldn't figure out anything to do, so she sat around, kind of watched television, kind of hung out. She not only, by the time first grade started, she was actually farther behind than when she left school. I needed to take another 2 steps back. But Chris here? Chris got to go to this really high-powered, great, high-quality summer learning program. He not only came back to school revved up, excited about learning, he actually progressed over the summer because it was such a great program. 1 step forward. Okay, we're now back in the first grade. You all guys got a great first grade teacher, that effective instruction, all the investments working. Can you all take 8 steps forward? You did get even amounts of instruction. But then it happened again. Beverly and Sue were chronically absent again. I needed to take 3 more steps backwards. All right, you guys can see this. Who's reading by the end of 3rd grade? Thank you. So I do that because it is important to remember. I believe every kid can learn, but kids don't have all the same opportunities to learn. And those opportunities can make a lifelong difference. Before I go into a little bit more, I'm going to take through what seems like a little bit of a mundane subject. And some of you are getting it twice if you were at the event earlier. But I feel like this is so important because what happens for me is unless we can talk, and as parents, you have to be able to hold schools, hold your school district accountable for giving you the right data, okay? Now, the great thing is I know your school district is producing the right data, but I need you to understand these terms because sometimes you'll see data, and in order to really interpret it, you need to know what it means. And when we say, are you getting better attendance? Are we working on attendance? There are actually multiple data points. I will admit, at heart, I'm a data geek. It is one of those things, but I think this is where we have now data in our midst that we can use, but we aren't using it effectively. And when I get through this piece on the data, which you need to know, because if one of the charges you're going to have on these, the PPTC, parent, help me with your acronym, someone. Parent, teacher, community council. Thank you. The parent-teacher community council is one of the things, and we will talk more about the data that's at your table, is you're going to have to be able to look at attendance data. So in order to look at attendance data, you need to know attendance terms. One term is average daily attendance, and that is the percent of kids who typically show up to school every day. 200 kids in a school, right? 190 show up, 10 kids don't. That's 95% attendance, okay? Another is truancy, which is referring usually to only unexcused absences. Although, it actually varies by state, and in Michigan, for the purposes of reporting to the state, you're usually reporting 10 unexcused absences. But truancy can also be, what's the trigger for when you need to monitor kids' attendance? So eventually, if it doesn't improve, you might take a legal strategy to force, to compel, to really make sure parents take notice so that you can use court action in order to make sure the kids are improving. And in this state, it's based on truancy that you're also having a policy around when one of the consequences can be actually docking folks' welfare benefits, right? Because that's part of your state practice here. And that's usually based on unexcused absences. What I will say is that how you define what truancy is, I believe in Michigan, is pretty locally defined. And so really understanding, and actually, you know what? Superintendent Neal, can you do me a favor? How are you guys defining truancy, just so everyone knows in your school district?
Thank you. This year, we're going to look at tardies as well as the absences. And I know this is new for us in Grand Rapids, but it's so important that children are there the entire day. So if they come 2 hours late, we're going to count that as an absence, right? So we're going to define that across the district so that we're all on the same page.
Now, what may still need to be done, and something that we think about, is when do you sort of count kids as truant in your state for triggering actions? I'm not sure where that is, and that may be a process that you'll have to think through. And I will say, this is one of those things that I've come to learn about Michigan. In many other states, like my own home state, we have state laws that define this. You're an unusual state in that this is all up to local districts to define. So you have a superintendent who can work with you to figure out exactly how to think through and adopt and move on your attendance policy. That's both an opportunity and a challenge. Sometimes when it's statewide, it's at least a little clearer about what you're working with. You all have a lot of discretion. What we are talking about, and why I think the superintendent has been looking at how do you think about absences in a much more concrete way, is because what we know is that regardless of the legal strategy here, at some point even when kids are missing school for unexcused reasons, when they start to add up to too much time lost in the classroom, it starts to affect kids' ability to learn. And that's what we were illustrating with this walking path. And what we found nationally is that if kids are missing 10% or more of school, that's 18 days out of a 180-day school year, or only 2 or 3 days every single month, that starts to add up by the end of the year to so much time lost in the classroom that kids can't keep up. What is unusual, what people don't get, so the fact that, oh, do kids need to show up in order to learn? That is not rocket science. That is almost like the duh research part. Duh, you know, we all know that. What is not been understood in this country, not just Grand Rapids, but throughout this country, is because schools have monitored average daily attendance for lots of reasons, for kind of thinking about supplies. Schools have monitored truancy because we have this idea of compulsory ed. Most schools and districts in this country still do not track how many kids are missing so much school for any reason that they are academically at risk. It took me about 2 years of doing research to realize actually no one's tracking this issue. That was in the around 2007, 2008. And it was so astonishing to me because I thought, of course we must be monitoring this. The good news in Grand Rapids is you are tracking, you are monitoring that. You're on now the pioneering cutting edge of school districts in this country that are not only willing to track this data, but to look at it publicly so you all can do something about it. That makes you really are part of the innovators on that. But just realize that has not been the norm in this country. And one of the reasons why you have to do that is when people have looked at average daily attendance. And we always think 90%'s an A, right? 90%'s an A, that's what we've been learning. It's not in attendance land if you're just looking at average daily attendance. If you have 200 kids in a school and 190 show up in 10 empty seats, they are not the same 10 kids in those 10 empty seats all year long. They'd be disenrolled. The question is that all the kids in the school each missing about 9 days, that would make 95% attendance and no one's at risk. Or do you have some kids missing a lot of school and they're typically in those 10 empty seats? This is real data from Oakland which showed that if they had 95% attendance, sometimes schools, sorry about that, thank you, Edward. Some schools had 16% of their kids chronically absent, whereas others only had 7%. In New York City, they found out if they had 90% average daily attendance, they were having 1 out of 5 kids maybe chronically absent. And by the way, once you get to 1 out of 5 kids chronically absent in school, it is a challenge for teachers. How many of you are teachers? And when you have kids roaming in and out of the classroom, missing different days, you know how hard that is. Because you don't know who's educationally, and you actually have to slow down instruction sometimes because you have some kids that miss part of it. And then truancy, which is unexcused absences, can really mask chronic absence. This is my own school district's data. So what we found when we looked at the data for the first time and we looked at how many kids missed 10 unexcused absences, you identified half the number of kindergartners who were actually academically at risk due to poor attendance. Because 5-year-olds don't sit there and think, oh, I think I'll skip school today and let me not tell mom or dad. That's just not what's happening. Young kids can miss school for lots of reasons. What we know nationally is that as many as 10% of the kids are chronically absent. And in some cities, it's as many as 1 in 4. You know, you'll see data on your own school district, but for example, this is an example of where people just didn't realize it. In Buffalo, New York, when we first helped them crunch their numbers, they had about 89% average daily attendance. When we looked at their chronic absence levels, it was 43% of their kids. I helped Providence, and they were somewhere similar. When we crunched their numbers, it was 37% of their kids. It was 60% of their ninth graders. So the levels can be much higher than 1 out of 4. And this is a red alert that kids are headed for academic trouble. And it happens, as we were illustrating from that walking exercise, sometimes as early as pre-K. This is data from Chicago that was just released. These are every year of absence starting from pre-K. So this is kids who are not chronically absent, and this is how many of them are reading, where their fluency scores. By the time you're at risk, you need serious intervention in reading in 2nd grade. And the kids who were chronically absent pre-K, K, 1st and 2nd. You know, some of you guys, I heard someone say, one of the reasons kids don't come to school is they have a bad teacher. You could have a good teacher, but let's say there's lots of chronic absence, and the teacher's struggling and it doesn't meet your needs, it may feel like a bad teacher. But I also want to say to you, if a kid is, you know how you can sometimes say, well, and I know this as a parent, I can get my kid through 1 year of a bad teacher. 2 years of a bad teacher, it is really hard. Multiple years of chronic absence, it is really hard to keep your kid up because they are so far behind. This is data that looks at kids 1st through 6th grade in Oakland, California. And what we found, if kids were chronically absent in 1st grade, and you follow them through into middle school, they were 6 times more likely to be chronically absent as 6th graders than kids who would not be chronically absent in 1st grade. They had higher levels of suspension, and they had lower 6th grade test scores. 2 years, it was 8 times higher. 3 years of chronic absence any time in elementary school, and these kids were 18 times more likely to be chronically absent. By the time kids are in middle and high school, if kids stop showing up, now, by the way, when kids are in the younger grades, it's particularly a big challenge for low-income kids. Because where do low-income kids learn to read? School, right? So if they're not in school, then it's really hard. Middle-income kids, by the way, when they fall behind, have you ever seen middle-income kids fall behind in 1st and 2nd grade? Their families go into gear. Because they can have the resources. Low-income kids don't have that advantage, and sometimes they're low-income because their parents themselves were not that literate. This is why sometimes you want a 2-generation strategy, and that's why also their parents don't have great jobs, and they're working multiple jobs because one job with low literacy skills isn't enough to pay the bills. But by the time you get to middle and high school, this is now about kids. Going to school is also an indication of kid engagement, right? And how much they've now gotten to develop the skill of going to school every day. And by the middle and high school, if kids don't have that skill, it is a surefire indicator that they're likely to drop out. This is 1 year of chronic absence anytime between 8th and 12th grade. A third of the kids dropped out later on, more than a third. 2 years, half the kids are dropping out. But I will tell you, I think the kids in middle school who start to show poor attendance, that are the hardest to bring up and support, are the kids we lost in kindergarten and 1st grade. But because we were maybe looking at truancy or we weren't monitoring this data, we didn't even notice that they needed the intervention so we could interrupt a cycle. That if you could interrupt, you don't have to wait till middle school, where by the time the kids now not only chronically absent, they're 2 or 3 years behind academically, and they're a behavior issue because in fact school wasn't a positive place for them. We have to start this early. And those of you who have teenagers, you know, you want your kid to develop a good habit. You don't start when they're 11 or 12 or 13 and they're almost as big as you are, right? You start when they're little. There was a reporter today. She said, what advice would you give to parents of teenagers? I said, well, you do want to find out why a teenager, if they say, I don't want to go to school, why do they not want to go to school? But if I had my druthers, I would teach everyone to say, don't wait till they're teenagers to teach them the value and the habit of going to school every day. Because as a parent, what I know is that because my kids now take the bus to school. This is why I can show up here. Because my kids should take the bus and I'm not supposed to be driving them, you know? But when I have shifted from directing my kids, which I could do when they were little, I would tell them, you do this, and they generally listen. As they get older, they look at me and they want to know why, and I'm coaching because I actually have to have them. Part of them becoming adults is they have the self-discipline. They understand. But the thing I was teasing, I was laughing, my kids, they're like, wait, so they get it. They don't ask me, can they stay home because they've got, they're kind of nervous about something. They don't ask when they have a mind, they know, I'm gonna check their temperature. If they don't have a high fever, they're going to school. Like, there is just no question about it. They barely ask, but if I hadn't instilled that in them, it is much harder to get your 15-year-old who's bigger than you to do this. So you've got to start early. The habit has to be built early. This is Grand Rapids data. You all have a serious challenge. It's 36% of your kids. I mean, the sad part is that you are not the only community. Look at your high school levels. It is. It's around 60% of your high school kids. And one thing I will say, and it starts pretty high, you got this standard curve. This is 3 years of data. And it starts high in kindergarten, about 34% right last year of your kindergartners were chronically absent, got a little better, and then it started going up, and it really peaked in high school. I will say the evidence suggests that by the time you're in high school, the consequences for being chronically absent are greatest, by the way, on the math, or anything that's a scaffolded subject. So like algebra, which is a key indicator of whether you're going to go on to college, right? You have to be able to pass algebra to keep going. But if your kids miss one day, because chronic absence doesn't always happen every day in a row, it's consecutively, it may be one day every 2 weeks, but if you miss the critical concepts and they're not there, it's really hard to come back in these scaffolded subjects. We know in Grand Rapids, it is true, your African American kids are disproportionately affected. Lots of African American kids, 3,153. You can't see this too well. This is your own data, and we know, though, that you have variations in your schools. Some schools have better records, and some schools have more challenging levels of chronic absence. And one of the things you're going to have to do in your parent-teacher community councils is actually look at your data and see where you are. Oops, sorry. What I urge you, though, to do is when you start to look at these data on chronic absence, and at the very end of this, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to understand and look at data. The first thing you need to do with data is not jump to assumptions about what the data means, but ask, why are kids not showing up to school? Who is most affected, and why are they not showing up? And what we've seen is it's helpful to have a framework of sort of buckets of reasons of why they might not be showing up. One bucket of reason is myths. That people think it only matters if it's unexcused, because that's when you get into trouble with the law, or you're going to pay repercussions. When, if you're thinking about every day of attendance is you're taking advantage of an opportunity to learn, then people have to think about it that way, not whether or not my kid skipped school and I didn't give permission. That doesn't matter. Even like during the holidays, are people extending their vacations? And are parents aware of the consequences of extending vacation if their kids are going to miss key concepts because they did? Are parents aware of, that it, like, excused absences, like even kids in kindergarten? You know what happens when kids are anxious? And like kindergarten's a new environment. Okay, here's another test for parents. Actually, it's true of kids of any age. When your kid is anxious about going to school for some reason, what do they tell you in the morning? I have a stomach ache, right? Now, for little kids, one of our challenges is we often go, oh, my poor kid, oh, just stay home, we'll make you better. That may not be the answer. Sometimes when they have a stomach ache, the solution is you got to get over your anxiety and got to go to school. Now, you may as a parent need to pay attention to the anxiety. And if it's really serious, that is an issue to address. But the solution may not be keeping them home from school. The solution is figuring out why they're anxious and making sure they go to school anyway and figuring out how to address it. And, you know, for the older kids, if the issue is that they have a test that they didn't prepare for, you know, we got to work on that issue then. You know, stomach ache comes up, unfortunately, or at all ages. But if you don't know that, that absence will be an excused absence, right? Because they were sick. So there's these myths. Then there's barriers. Lack of access to health care, poor transportation, no safe path to school. And we need to know, too, when these are the barriers. And I will tell you, data will help you with this. We've seen data where when you connect the data and you look at where the asthma rates are the highest, they're the same. Or you talk to parents and you look at the kids who are chronically absent, and they're kids, because usually schools are tracking who has asthma, but when you talk to the parents, they actually don't trust the school knows what to do if their kid is going to have an asthmatic attack. So that they're worried about it. It's marginal weather, something that might trigger it, they keep them home. But the solution could be that we have to talk about what do we do with kids who have asthma, and how do we as a school community make sure they can still come to school and not miss school. So you can, but we have to know whether that's a barrier. Or sometimes we have issues of aversion. It can be that lack of engaging instruction. And then you'll see it like chronic absence sometimes concentrated in a particular teacher, more so at that particular period. Or sometimes, you know, if you have a teacher, it's not even that they're a bad teacher, it's they need professional development or support. I have asked teachers before, what would make it possible for you to look at this data? They don't want to be judged either. If you use this as a place to ask questions and see what support they need, then you'll do that. But I also want to say, school climate issues, the zero tolerance policies in our country have not done us any favors, because kids sometimes get both suspended and expelled for schools for crazy, crazy reasons. And they are missing instruction. When I look at chronic absence, I include suspensions. I don't care why you're gone. You're not there for, and if you have, I've been in school districts where, well, I mean, here's both a positive and negative. In Baltimore, Maryland, they actually halved their chronic absence rates from 34 to about 17%. And a key strategy was that they changed their disciplinary code because kids were getting suspended for stupid reasons. Do you know one of the reasons they suspend kids in places? They suspend kids for being truant. Is that the most insane idea? Who created that policy? In Rhode Island, they now have state law. Someone told me she said, Hedy, it's a law for you. And I thought, oh my God, because they started looking at why kids were being suspended, and it was for truant. And so this one superintendent who was so outraged by this made them pass state law that you couldn't suspend kids for being truant. I mean, that's good, but I think it's crazy. Why would we ever have to have a state law that anyways, sorry. You gotta unpack if suspensions are growing. Why are they suspending kids? Do you really need to suspend kids? If the best educational interests is at heart, then maybe you got to change those practices. What we know is that in order to take this work, though, there are solutions. And here are key solutions. And what we've seen is when schools and communities do this to fidelity, they get outcomes. And you have to recognize good and improved attendance. You got to engage kids and families in knowing that attendance matters and how do they help each other to get to school. We have to provide personalized early outreach. This is one of the things that I think is so hopeful, because the district is starting to produce data on which kids are chronically absent so someone can go out and reach out to them and find out what's going on. You have to monitor attendance data and practice, and then you have to see if there are challenges that require programmatic solutions to get kids to school. It's about investing in a whole tiered approach, and one of the challenges we've had is we've so often just been at the recovery part. What I see Grand Rapids and with this attendance challenge moving into is putting in a whole host of universal and preventive strategies that will help you move the needle. And with personalized early outreach, you can do lower cost forms, and you have so many community partners. It's not a schools alone problem or a schools alone solution. Reaching out to kids, sending these right messages is something that all of you can do together. Sorry, what we talk about is that ultimately getting kids to school is a matter of having hope, everyone having hope that their kids have a better future, faith that where they're putting their kids is going to get them to that better future, and the capacity, resources, skills, and knowledge needed to get to school. And I know you as a collective, particularly you as parents, can help make sure we have hope, faith, and capacity. What you can do as parents, you can help send these key messages. That good attendance, it's not a matter of compliance with laws, it's about success in school and eventually in the workplace. Because someday when you get to a job, you're gonna have to show up every day too. That absences can add up. Parents can even have their own calendars to see how they're adding up. There's ad councils actually created this little text messaging thing, or this thing on your phone where you can add it into your phone and then it'll help calculate how much your chronic absence is. We have to know that when kids miss too much school, it's not just a matter for the kids who are missing school, it's affecting all of our education. We gotta monitor who's missing so much school so we can intervene. And this is a problem that we can all solve when we work together. Sorry about the slides, I'm not quite sure what happened. This has been one of my days with these, so I'm gonna go with it. This is also something that I will say, and this is again why it's so important for you as parents to be involved in this. Relationship is key. If you want to unpack why kids are not really showing up to school and what you can do about it, it has to be based on trusting relationships, because otherwise the parents aren't going to tell you really what's going on. So you as parents are essential to talking to other parents. And this is key to reducing the achievement gap. It is costly to put teachers in schools and make sure there's effective instruction. And the least we can do is make sure that every kid is benefiting from that key component of high quality education that you all are so committed to having there. So here's a couple things. You know, as parents, we can all monitor our own kids' attendance. It's easy for this to add up. We can help schools. As parents, you can help by talking to other parents, bringing your own insights. Don't start with blaming, start with understanding. Why do kids not show up? And that will allow you to figure out the common sense solutions that will get them to school. And you can create opportunities for other parents to understand how much this matters and become part of changing what happens in our schools and communities so kids do get to school. On your tables, I just want you to have this so that you can kind of see what you're up for. We created something called these school attendance tracking tools and district ones that allow to produce reports, and you have to share with people. But essentially what it allows you to see, and I know we won't have too much time to do this, but you look at the first page. What it shows you is chronic absence levels over a 3-year period. And you can see, for example, if chronic absence is getting better or is getting worse in your school, and which grades are most affected. And if you look at the School 1 Tab A, you'll notice like they have pretty high kindergarten chronic absence, but something happened in first grade and they kept it up for 2 years and they really reduced it. That's the type of thing where you go, this is real data, not from Grand Rapids, but another school district, where you want to look at that and go, I wonder what's happening in first grade. they must have some really great practice because they've done something to really reduce chronic absence. And what could be happening in kindergarten that we're not getting those gains? As you see, you'll just have examples of how this data can look like. I won't go, but you can also look at it by ethnic group. And that's what's on the slides too, where you can see which ethnic groups are most affected. And some of that is important. Let me just tell you something about ethnicity, and then I know my time is about up. But when you think about ethnicity, I want to just put out something there. First of all, sorry about that. When you think about ethnicity data, I want you to look at it in a couple ways. You'll get two charts. One is going to show percentage of chronic absence, and one is going to show numbers. This is one of those math tricks. Percentages do not tell you everything, because if you have two kids of one ethnic group in your school, and one of them's chronically absent, it will show that you have 50% of the kids from that ethnic group chronically absent, right? You always have to look at percentages, and you have to look at numbers. Now, I also want to tell you why you want to look at the data by ethnicity. First of all, I want to tell you, ethnicity is not a predictor of chronic absence. The best predictor of chronic absence is whether a kid was chronically absent the prior year. You cannot make assumptions. There are kids of every background who are chronically absent. There are kids of every background who get their kids to school. There are low-income families who have challenges and don't get their kids to school, and there are low-income families who, despite the challenges, make sure their kids get to school. And if you want to keep hope and faith with your parents, you don't make assumptions, not based on data, not based on information about who is who, right? But what is helpful is if you know how many kids are from a certain ethnicity or a certain language group, it may help you think about who are the people in your community you need to help you build the relationships to those families so you can figure out what is going on. Because if you can't speak their language, it may be tough to find out why they might not be showing up. So just use your data carefully. Don't make stereotypes, but do use it to inform your understandings of what might be the realities. One of the biggest challenges I think we face in schools today, particularly in low-income schools that face the largest numbers of chronically absent kids, is that the people who staff those schools, almost by definition, are not of the same income background as the low-income kids who go to those schools. And typically, because the neighborhoods are much tougher, they may not live in those neighborhoods. So our staff and our people who work in our schools sometimes don't really understand the realities their kids face. Part of it is we have to bridge those realities so that we can understand it. Part of it is knowing who in our school community can understand those realities, whether it's other parents, but keeping confidentiality issues in mind, or whether it's your after-school providers, who sometimes look more like the kids than the school staff, and who parents actually spend more time with, because when we're picking up, we're more likely to have a moment to talk to them. These are your resources that you can leverage. And as school councils, I ask you to look at this data to understand, to problem solve, to help educate, and to help think about what are all our resources we have in our community that can help nurture a strong, regular habit of attendance among every child, and help identify the barriers that if we work together, we can overcome, so every child in each of your schools has an equal opportunity to learn. Thank you.
Let's give her a hand one more time. Thank you, Hedy. Good evening. My name is Mel Atkins, and I'm the Executive Director of Community and Student Affairs. And I have the pleasure of introducing or talking about two individuals today who have been truly friends of Grand Rapids Public Schools. and they are Doug and Maria DeVos. Give them a hand. And Doug is the president of Amway. Maria is the vice president of their charitable foundation. But both are true believers that every child is born with unlimited potential to learn, achieve, and to succeed. Their passionate concern for children fuels the generosity that's allowed GRPS to partner with national experts like the University of Pittsburgh's Institutes for Learning, Dr. Hedy Chang's Attendance Works, in our pursuit of academic excellence for all. Through the Believe to Become, Doug Maria's support has been instrumental in helping us launch the Parent-Teacher Community Councils, Parent University, and the Attendance Challenges, just to name a few. They have a genuine heart for the students and parents we are honored to serve. Please give a warm welcome with me to Doug DeVos.
Thanks all for your work and what you're doing through GRPS to organize and pull together groups that are really going to be important and are important in bringing the community forward. And so it's an honor to be here. My wife Maria is over there. She always pushes me onto stages rather than going on herself. But we're in this together, and I certainly have to recognize Teresa and all of our friends at GRPS. This has been an incredible relationship for a number of years. And what we have seen are issues that are big and challenging, are tough, are being addressed and being overcome because you're doing it. And Teresa, your leadership and your team, we're just grateful. I want to thank you for the partnership and just a couple quick comments, but I have to go and validate. I can't validate the specifics of the data that Hedy has gone through, but just validate how important it is to get to this sort of information. We do this at Amway all the time, and we are trying to figure out what we can study, what we should measure, what we should use, to how and how it can impact our business going forward. And so many times like this, you're working through things, and you go, why am I not making progress? Why am I not making progress? And then you find that key piece of information, and you go, well, duh, which I found now is a scientific term. Duh, why didn't we pay attention to this before? And this does seem to be one of those sorts of moments where, wow, we're finding something that's really rich, that's really important, and boy, we can get our arms around this. And so we're doing this on a regular basis, and I'm not an expert in the field of research that she's doing, but isn't it great that we can contact and connect with experts in these fields of research and bring this information to us so we can start to address these challenges in new ways, and we're not alone. We can learn from one another here, we can learn from other organizations. And I love the simplicity of it because I'm a simple guy. Yeah, and so I like, okay, going to work is a good thing, going to school, get it, right? If you don't go, you're not going to learn, got it? It's like the guy, who was down on his luck and wanted to win the lottery, and went to church all the time, Lord, I need to win the lottery, Lord, I need to win the lottery, and was praying on a regular basis. Finally, a voice from heaven said, buy a ticket. It just seems so simple on its face, but so important when you dive through the data of where that's going. And so I just want to take that moment just to validate, and Hedy, thank you for what you're doing and for being here with us and sharing this information with us. And then I want to just kind of connect back with all of you, because all of you are activists. All of you are stepping forward and addressing this, and all of you are going to be very important to solving this issue and other issues. Whatever there may be, whatever is going on, you're the critical link to moving this forward. And Maria and I just want to say thank you. We just want to express our appreciation to you. And Mel, as you've worked, and everyone at GRPS to pull together organizations like this, but your willingness to get involved and to step forward and to say, we want to be looking at this in a new way. And even if you've been involved, many teachers here too, involved with the school, your willingness to look at things in a new way and to say, what can I do to be part of the solution? And that just validates our belief in this community. Because of you. Because of what you're doing and the strides that you're making. As Mel said, we do believe that when we look at the kids in this community, we look at this community, it's full of people with unlimited potential. Great potential. And we know that there's barriers along the way, but we can overcome those. And with that potential, it seems reasonable that we have high expectations. We should expect great things from our kids, from our institutions, from our families, from our community. We should expect great things. We shouldn't just step back and say, oh, wait, that's the way it is. No. Because we want to create more and more opportunity. Somewhere along the line, these kids are going to have to take care of us. Right? So we better pay attention to them, right? Well, that's not the real reason. The real reason is these are children that were created special. And they do have that unlimited potential. And it's up to us as adults and people in the community, families, to surround them with the love and the care and the support that they need to achieve that potential. Because they have great futures. And it's up to us to make that happen. And so as we have this brief time here, just one other story to kind of relay. Many years ago, Maria and I had a chance in my job at Amway to move overseas and to work in a new way. And it was a pretty scary sort of thing for me growing up in Grand Rapids. I didn't know if I wanted to do it. Maria was really the adventurous one. She said, no, let's go. We moved to Brussels, Belgium. And then we lived in the UK. We lived in Europe for about 2 years altogether. And when that opportunity first came up, I had a chance to meet with Jay Van Andel, my dad's partner, the co-founder of Amway. And I was a little nervous, and Jay was very kind, and he just spent some time. He said, Jug, I know you're going on this assignment, and I just want to talk to you a little bit about some things and encourage you. And it was a great time. And he shared his knowledge and his learnings and everything he had about the business. But somewhere along in that meeting, I vividly remember him saying, Doug, I'm counting on you to do a great job over there. And I remember my brain kind of stopped, and I went, really? He's counting on me? Jay, do you know that I'm scared to death? Do you know that I really don't want to do this? Maria's making me. I'm really worried about this. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I'm brand new in this. I could screw this up completely. You're counting on me? That struck me. Well, when our assignment was finished, we were on our way home. It was one of the best experiences we've ever had. We grew tremendously. I thought back on that time and how scared I was and how nervous. And how Jay said that. And then I realized he wasn't just talking to me. Jay was optimistic. Jay saw the unlimited potential in people. He set high expectations. He created opportunities. And if he were here today, he'd say the same thing to each and every one of you. Counting on you to do a great job, to address these issues, to be the leaders in the community that this community needs, to create that better future for our children. Counting on you. And I'd suggest it goes even further than that. It wouldn't just be him. But there's a lot of people who don't have a voice and don't say that to you, but still have that hope. Those are our kids. We're not going to have our kids say, hey, Dad, make sure I go to school. Hey, Dad, really, you'll ride me hard. Mom, pay attention to this. Make me do something I don't want to do. They're not going to say that ever. But that's what's going on. They're counting on you to see beyond their initial barriers. They're counting on you to build those relationships. They're counting on you to connect with one another, to find a way in, whatever it is, so you can connect to them and help them through the fears and the anxieties or the whatever it is that might be holding them back. They're you. And I guess that's the way Maria and I feel too, and I think others in this community feel too. They're counting on you, we're counting on each other. These kids have tremendous, bright, wonderful futures. Our community has a tremendous, bright, wonderful future, full of opportunity. And we're counting on each other to work together, to learn new data, to understand new methods, to develop new ways to be better. And I think all those kids are counting on you. And as organizations come together, the parent-teacher community councils, these count fantastic. Your involvement as parents is critical. Working together with the professionals throughout GRPS, working together with others in the community. We're so grateful. And I know that as we work together to address these issues, we won't let those kids down. We'll be able to find the solutions. And I know Maria and I are just honored and thrilled to have the opportunity to work with each and every one of you to make that opportunity turn into a reality. So thanks for what you're doing. We're thrilled to be part of it. We're thrilled to be here. And we're just looking forward to great things, great times ahead. Thanks, everybody.
Excellent remarks. I bet I have an answer to a question, and that is, are you counting on me to serve you dinner? We'll do that in just a moment. Let me just give you a couple of quick announcements. The first thing is that while we have dinner this evening, we're going to continue with our presentations from the Parent Engagement Office, and so they'll be going through a couple of the highlights of many of the great things that have been happening here in our city. So that will be taking place while you're eating. And before we actually acknowledge our servers to begin serving you, we just want to have a moment of silence so that you can reflect and be grateful, if you wish, for the food that we're about to receive. So we can do that now.
And also as the head for the Parent Engagement Office. Today we just want to briefly highlight some things that our office is really trying to reduce barriers and provide as a resource to all of you all. But before I get going, there are a few people that I just want to acknowledge. Definitely our superintendent, Teresa Weatherall-Neal. One thing I really appreciate about our superintendent is her vision, her direction, and we all know that she has very high expectations, so we're going to meet this 10%. Also, from all of our community stakeholders, the DeVos Foundation, Sinead and Burley, our Board of Education, and more importantly, our parents and everyone that's seated here. So please give yourselves a round of applause. We want to talk briefly on our mission from the Parent Engagement Office, which is family, schools, and community partnering together for the success of our students. And so as you just look around your table, you have that. I see principals, deans, assistants, parents. We have an army of gold shirts here that are working as parent ambassadors. We also have our PALs, our parent action leaders, who serve as liaisons between the district and the school and community. Now that's actually the group that usually jumps up and out and you really know who they are, but we understand we're at Notos tonight. And we have our Parent Engagement Collaborative, and I'm just kind of briefly talking about the PowerPoint that you guys are seeing. These are some of the structures that are in place to support the school. Okay, so when we talk about the Parent Engagement Collaborative, those are stakeholders from GRPS, Believe to Become, KSSN, our community partners, parents, and we also have a few principals that serve on that collaborative. This is kind of what we call the think tank. When we're in these meetings, there's one muscle that's working, and that's the one between your ears. We are allowed to just kind of dream big, come up with things that principals have given to their representatives to come back to parents, and from that, you get things like Parent University. Parent University is extremely innovative and creative for the entire state of Michigan because you may find one in name, we haven't found it yet, but you cannot find one in detail in what we're doing here at GRPS. And everyone in here is connected to that initiative, if you know it or not, because we're asking our principals, we're asking our parents to simply promote it. We have facilitators that consist of counselors, youth advocates, parents, community members, teachers, and so forth. So we're just asking for this initiative. You'll hear a lot more about it, but Parent University is something that our parents wanted. It's something that they talked about. It's here. Our first class starts on October 2nd. We'll be at Grand Rapids University Prep. And Mr. Williams, I know your team is here somewhere. So we're asking that Mr. Williams and his team simply use that event as their parent night. Not to have another event, but the superintendent has charged all of our schools that at least 1 month will engage parents in a meaningful way. And so our thought for the Grand Rapids University team and every other team here is that when your school hosts a parent event, it is heavily attended by the parents at your school, but it's also open to parents all throughout the city. They do not have to be GRPS parents. We looked at our numbers, and we have more than 10 parents that are signed up for our Parent University, your Parent University, that do not even live in the city of Grand Rapids. There's one parent right now that I'm thinking of from Alto, Michigan, and you probably know her when she shows up to your class because she signed up for 9 classes. So there are people watching Grand Rapids, there are people looking to see what we're doing, and we're just very excited that we had the thought, our parents brought it to us, we listened to our parents, our steering committee consists of just about all parents, and now we're just pleased to say that our first class is here and will be occurring on October 2nd. Next slide, please. You may ask yourself why, and I know this is a question that many of us as colleagues have struggled with over the past about 3 years, is why, or what is parent engagement? What does it mean? Last month I had 10 parents come to my parent meeting. This month I had 7 parents. Am I engaging parents in the right way? And while we know that Parent University isn't the answer to everything, it's some of our best thinking, it's some of your best thinking. But 3 things that we really looked at is that all parents want their children to succeed. All parents. Is that something that you believe in? Yes. Absolutely. I don't think there's anyone sitting here that can say that a parent did not want the best for their child. We've been talking about unlimited potential tonight. That keeps occurring. We met with Rudy Kafele last month, for those of you all who saw him. And he talked about there is no such thing as an achievement gap. There is only an attitude gap. That every student that comes to us great. They're born great. They're born brilliant. But some of the barriers that our families and our parents face creates an attitude gap, which manifests in an achievement gap. Every parent has the potential to contribute to their child's success. Earlier, Dr. Chang talked about it doesn't matter ethnicity, it doesn't matter about their religion, it doesn't matter about low income. We all work with families. Some of us are currently in those situations. And we all want the best for our children, and we all have the potential to contribute to that success. And every student has the potential to learn and to achieve academic success. Many times I've heard the superintendent and many of you all speak about your zip code should not dictate the well-being or the opportunities that you may have. Your zip code does not dictate that. So as I'm looking around this room, I know that there are people in certain pockets in the city. I used to be one of those working in one of those pockets in the city where that could have been an excuse, that could have been a crutch, and we simply didn't allow it. So every student has the potential to learn and to achieve. So that's part of the reason why we're doing this work. As we look around as well, every table here represents a parent-teacher community council. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that's how you see it. Every school here is represented. So we want to talk a little bit about the goals. We have 4 goals. And usually throughout the years, we've had 30 goals and 100 goals, and we're going to be the best at everything. But we really looked at a few things as it relates to parental engagement. Number 1 is reducing chronic absenteeism by 10%, and the way that we do that is by increasing satisfactory attendance. We all shared the data, if you guys remember, a month ago with the data analysis. I'm confident to say that there's no missing links. Everybody knows or has the information available to you about your baseline data for your school. Everyone has that. If you don't have it, parents, if you haven't seen it, please ask your administrators. They have that information. And what we're saying is that there are different columns within that. We can pinpoint, okay, we talk about not guessing. We can pinpoint which students were chronically absent over the last 3 years. And from what Dr. Chang was saying, none of those factors matter that we always look at the biographical information. The only factor that matters for a student to be chronically absent this current year, 2013 and 14, is if they were what? Chronically absent the previous year or those 2 years. So I'm extremely 150% confident we know that the information was given, that we have it, and so now we're just going to spend a little bit of time, a few more minutes, talking about what do we do with that information. Because we can pinpoint that subgroup that's inside our buildings that we need to move up to reach our goal and the superintendent's goal as well of increasing our satisfactory attendance by 10%. Also, we want to increase parental involvement in every school. Now, we can give you guys some tips, we can give you some suggestions, some research-based strategies, but like we said, there are different pockets, there are different needs, and you all at this table are going to serve as the change agent for what does our building need? What does Olive Hills need? What does Sibley Elementary need? What does Dickinson K-8 need? What are the needs of our building? That's something that our office will work hand in hand with you guys, but we simply can't answer because you guys are the expert on those pockets, those communities that you're in. Increasing opportunities to strengthen partnerships of families, schools, and community. So as we talk about Parent University, there are 4 buckets that are in Parent University. Effective parenting, where you can learn how to become your child's best advocate. Navigating through the educational system, where we'll talk about creating pipelines to college. We've heard about pipelines to prison, right? That exists, that's real. But we're saying as a school district, it's our job to teach our parents about creating a pipeline to college early on. We don't want to wait until children are in the 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. That's great for them. But we want to start that pipeline early, pre-K, because I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but the pipeline to prison data shows that they look at our 3rd through 5th graders. That's data that's out there, so we have to counteract that. And the last one, and very important, is promoting cultural change. And what we mean by cultural change is, I remember Rudy Cafelli talked about What is your school known for? What's the purpose of your school? What's the purpose? What's the vision? If I brought my daughters to your school and said, I'm going to enroll my daughters in here, what's the vision of school X, Y, Z?
Health and wellness.
All right. But there are many different visions, and we're just kind of putting it out there that challenges, what is your school known for? What's the vision? What's the purpose? What's the direction? And then what follow through is there to make it. So that's what we mean about cultural change. And you guys are very familiar with this. This is our Parent-Teacher Community Council. This idea came up last year, so we want to thank you all for bearing with us through the first year of implementation. We know how hard that can be, but we also want to look forward, and that's where the 4 goals come from. So last year was a year of implementation, of creating membership, and now we're moving forward with our Parent-Teacher Community Council. 3 things there, that this group, you guys, is an avenue for parent advocacy and leadership. And so we commend the parents that are sitting on your PTCCs. You have a connection with teachers and community. And I always said, as a principal, that the most important people in my building, as far as staff, were my teachers. My teachers had a caseload of 180 kids per day. Teachers are touching students hourly. If the teachers are not connected with this organization, the Parent-Teacher Community Council, we are missing a vital part. And also being a gateway for contributing to the academic success of our children. And we always speak about who's the first teacher for children, and we know that it's the parents in the home. And so many avenues with our parent manuals, the Parent-Teacher Community Councils, Parent University, we're looking at those as being avenues to kind of bridge that in to help out and be that gateway. All right, so now we get to the call of action. We've talked about our data. Our data does not look like we know it should look. It doesn't represent the families that we serve, right? We know that. And I think that we have enough people in this room that are go-getters, that are passionate, and that are motivated to understand what we're talking about here in this slide, a call to action. But we're just asking for a few things, especially from our Parent-Teacher Community Council. We're doing a lot of training behind the scenes. For this team to understand the issue of attendance and do research on your building, but to truly understand the issue of attendance. I was looking at a certain group. It was the kindergarten group, and it was the 9th graders. And it was startling to know how many kindergartners that we have that are chronically absent. And from the illustration that Dr. Chang did before, we see how that can manifest over 2 or 3 years. Understanding your own school's data. And so when we talk about that, is the DAT, the data attendance tracking tool, and the SAT. The DAT will give you your school building, the district, and every one of you guys remember from the principal's meeting, you see those yellow folders. That's your SAT. Please share that within your team's school data, okay? And we're asking that our teams here develop an inclusive improvement plan. Where is our data? Where do we want to go? What subgroup do we need to pull up? And how do we reach those specific students? And lastly, engaging everyone in action. Students, parents, teachers, community. The old proverb, the African proverb that we've heard millions of times, it takes a village to raise one child. And the Parent-Teacher Community Council, we believe, can be that village within your school body. And I can tell you, our parents are fired up, principals are fired up, and we just ask that you all organize as you leave this place today. We want to provide a vision for your upcoming meetings, okay? A vision for your upcoming meetings. And I've talked to a few principals that have already done this. Number one, discuss the issue. This is something that we're asking either your first meeting for your PTCC this year or your next upcoming meeting, is to discuss the issue of attendance. Have a discussion. And you have your team sitting here. I know some people aren't here, but have a discussion. Review your school data using the SAT. Find your trends. Find your subgroups. Is it what you thought it would be? Are we missing something? Did you think that it was exactly what the data says? And take the school assessment by attendance works. Some of our administrators have seen the school assessment. Everything that we're talking about today will email out to you guys electronically. So during that first meeting, we're asking that those things are completed. During the second meeting, after you've taken the school assessment data, after you've taken the school assessment from attendance works, after you've looked at your trends, that's just one meeting, and that's going to be a lot of heavy lifting there. But in your second meeting, now it's time to brainstorm opportunities for improvement. What can we do at Gerald R. Ford Academic Center? What can we do at Union High School? Those are questions that you guys are the experts in. You have that information. And remember, you also can pinpoint those students who have been chronically absent over the last 3 years. So we're just trying to remove all the guesswork. Formulate school plans, including goals, objectives, strategies for whatever population or whatever subpopulation that it is. Because different schools have different needs. And we have a worksheet that we can get out to you guys to kind of help you work through that as well, as a suggestion. Now this is, in meeting number 3, we're asking, and several schools have been successful with this, is everybody should know your plan. The PTCC should not be the only entity within your building that knows the plan. Roll your plan out to all your teachers, all the staff, your community at your next parent event. Roll the plan out. This is how we want to improve attendance with this subgroup in this school. Keep discussing parent manual themes. We realize that every month has a theme. And keep lifting up the importance of attendance. Dr. Chang asked a question earlier around what kept you from staying away from school, or what kept you away from school. And I said, you know what? I had so many people mandating and having the expectation that I went to school, that as a student, I didn't miss a lot of school. I remember receiving perfect attendance awards. I remember receiving those types of awards because it was a simple expectation. And not once did I ask my mother or my father to take me to school. I didn't have to ask that. But I understand that my experience may be different than some of the families that we work with. So we're just saying to keep lifting up the importance of attendance. We ask that you guys, at every table, there's a parent manual. You can look through the manual on page 15, on the last page. You'll see if your school will be featured during the fall semester. Our winter semester is coming up. We'll have another trimester in spring. So if there are ideas, if you have a passion to teach a class, you can see myself or one of our members from the team. But the number one thing that we just asked for tonight is the support that you guys have given, the continued dedication for our families. And I really hope everybody has the feeling of Grand Rapids turning in a positive way. I mean, we're going into that curve and it's just going to rocket us out. And as a person that's serving you and serving our families, I'm very humbled to serve in this role, and we just ask for your continued support on all the initiatives, and in whatever way we can improve, we're open to that, and to see it. So again, thank you for the time, thank you for being here, taking time away from your families, and overall, thank you.
Will all my parents come forward that we're going to speak, please? It is my privilege as the Parent Engagement Coordinator of GRPS to meet and work with parents all across the district. Their drive and determination to improve the academic success of their own children as well as your children, and their passion and commitment to the Grand Rapids Public Schools is without equal. These parents that you see across in front of you keep popping up. They keep getting in my way. No, they're always at meetings and always on the phone and emailing me of how they can help. They serve as volunteers and pals in their school. They serve as members of the Parent University Steering Committee, and they daily serve as examples of engaged parents. Many of these parents have been here since noon helping us set up this room as well. Since this evening is all about parent engagement, we thought it would only be wise to include these parents in the leadership of this evening. Each one will give a short presentation on a part of the Parent Engagement Initiative. I will let each of them introduce themselves, but I am pleased to present to you parents, engaged parents, and grandparents of the Grand Rapids Public Schools.
Good evening. My name is Alicia Haven, and I have 2 children at Grand Rapids Public Schools. I'm a 10-year veteran parent now. I've gone all the way through, starting in kindergarten, and now I've entered the high school phase. So I feel like I'm experienced in lots of different ways. I'm here to talk to you about the PTCC, another one of those great GRPS acronyms that we all went, oh good, another acronym, we gotta learn this one. But this one is really important. This is one that we are all a part of. This is one that's gonna stay, and this is one that is really going to help out our students, help out our families. It's something that everyone in this room is a very, very active part of. And I wanna make sure that you understand that no matter what hat that you're wearing, you're a part of it. Because as a parent, you're just as important as the teacher, who's just as important as a community member. And what I would really challenge you to do is to think about the other hats that you wear in your life. Maybe you do something with the church, maybe you do something at work, maybe you're here as a part of your work, but you have another group that you belong to, is who else can we bring into this community? Who else can we bring into this park? Who else can you look at and say, you know what, we want to bring you on board as well. If you're a parent, pick up another parent in one of your students' classes. If you're a community member or leader, find someone else in that community group and leader who's going to come in and do that with us. Because we really want to have as many people around in this group as we can. One of the key successes of this PTCC over the last year has been listening to the parents. We have been listened to, and we very much appreciate it. Some of us more so than others because you can't not hear our voices. We're constantly at your door, constantly bugging people, constantly knocking. Yeah. So some of us are a little more active than others when it comes to that. But they want to hear everybody's voice with, 70 different languages being 70 different countries being from, all these different languages being spoken. We really need every aspect of Grand Rapids Public Schools to be speaking up. Each school is a little different. Each community is a little different. Some of us have really strong parent groups, but not much community involvement. Some of us have a lot of community involvement, and our parenting groups need help. Well, under this umbrella of PTCC, we're able to approach and get everybody involved. We want to make sure that we're all equal to it. We're all involved, and she's telling me to be quiet now. So but what I want to leave you with is a King quote that was in my Twitter box today. A productive and happy life is not something that you find, it's something that you make. And I believe that that is true for Grand Rapids Public Schools as well. We can make all of our students and the school district happy and productive if we all make it that way. We're not going to find it, we're going to have to make it, so let's all work together and make it together.
Thanks for coming out today. My name is Sue Garza. I'm a former Shaman Hills Shark, and let's give it up for Shaman Hills. And I also have had a student at the zoo school, and now I have a student at the Center for Economicology and a City High 9th grader. So Grand Rapids is my choice. That's all I can say. It's wonderful. It's a great school district, and it's great because we make it great. So I'm the only person in my neighborhood that chose Grand Rapids Public Schools when we first moved here from Wyoming, so I'm really proud of that. I'm here to talk to you about the Grand Rapids Parent Engagement Manual. It's colorful, it's freshly redone, it's in English, it's in Spanish, and it's also available online. So it's a really great resource for parents. There's resources in the back. There's suggestions for success monthly. It's thematic, and it's really easy to read. So please, if you have these in your schools, pass them out to parents. Make sure that they know that they're available, and they're really helpful resources. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Natasha Merritt, and I am the Parent Action Leader for both Ottawa Hills High School and Alger Middle School, and I'm a proud alumni of Ottawa Hills High School, but I'm not a Bengal. I have been volunteering for Grand Rapids Public Schools right now consistently for about 5 years, and I want to talk about the role of a Parent Action Leader. Can all the Parent Action Leaders in the room please stand up? These are the parents who represent the schools for GRPS. Give them a round of applause. So the role of a Parent Action Leader is to help educate, recruit, and engage parents and community volunteers in the classroom and school activities. Every Grand Rapids public school has a Parent Action Leader. As my children got older and started attending middle school and high school, I was like most parents who believe that at that age they can probably handle things by themselves. So I kind of stepped back and let them do it. I now realize that middle and high school years are when they need you the most. I have 4 children that attended Grand Rapids Public Schools. My oldest daughter graduated from Ottawa and is now a junior at Michigan State University. My youngest daughter, Victoria, is a 9th grader at Ottawa Hills. I have a stepson who goes to alternative school, and I have a 19-year-old son who is currently serving a 2.5-year sentence at Bellamy Creek Correctional Facility. And that used to be very humbling for me to say. But my sons were my motivation to get involved in the schools. When my sons started getting in trouble at Ottawa, I became very well acquainted with Mr. Brown, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Belchez, who was Sergeant Belchez at the time, and they all worked at Ottawa, and I needed some things to change, so instead of complaining about my situation, I decided to get involved. If I couldn't save my sons, I wanted to use my experiences to help other parents who were going through the same situations that I was going through. I'm an educated person. I did not think that I would ever go through a situation like this. With the issues and concerns that I have for my boys, I became very well versed on the resources that they have at our schools that keep them on task to graduate. Resources such as the Academic Upgrade Program at Ottawa, Upward Bound, Gear Up, the Student Leadership Team at Alger Middle School, community partners such as the DeVos Foundation, Link, Believe to Become, KSSN, our faith-based partners that offer their services to our students free of charge. I didn't do this for my child. I do it for all children. I believe that every child has the ability to do something great. No parent sends their child to school to fail. Parents, we need you at our schools. Let's refuse to let our children fail. If we want things to change, then we have the power to change it. GRPS is on the road to greatness, and right now is the time for all of us to take action and to be involved. So go to your Parent Action Leader at your school or talk to a school administrator to see where and how you can get involved. I will end my speech with an inspirational quote that my daughter has posted on the mirror in her bedroom, and it's a quote that I strongly believe in and is very inspirational. It's by Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve this world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We are born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in every one of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna. Oops, I'm sorry. My name is Anna. I don't have children in Grand Rapids Public Schools. I have great-grandchildren. I have been volunteering. I was asked to talk about why I participated with the Parent University. And it is because I value the same things that this initiative is about. Parent education was the first thing that I would always put on the board when we would have our breakout sessions, when I would volunteer with Believe to Become at the different schools. Because I know if parents are educated, if their mind is thinking differently, there's going to be a lot of changes in how they raise their children. They believe that physical health, and we have to say mental health as well, we're just discussing that at the table, is very important for parents to be physically well in order to be able to take care of their children. If a person isn't well physically or mentally, they're not going to do well. Children are going to be raised in a house where there's all kind of things going on, and then they're not going to be productive once they get in a school setting. They believe in teaching parents how to navigate through the educational system. For the last 20+ years, I've worked with families and children, and one of the things I've seen that has been very disturbing to me is that parents blame school teachers for a lot of the things that go on within the child's progress report. It's not their fault, it's the teacher's fault. So I'm feeling that with this navigating, learning how to navigate through the educational system, parents are better knowledgeable how to go into the school and work with that teacher, that it's going to be a collaborative effort to get that child back on track. The other thing was learning. Parents need to continue to, it's not learning. Help me, Jan, here with this. We did personal growth and development. If a person feels good about themselves, they're going to be more likely to understand. I have the ability to be a teacher to my child. You're not a professional teacher, but you should start teaching your child in utero. You should start at the very onset, when you know you're pregnant, start reading to your tummy, massage it. I love you. I'm so happy you're gonna be here. Embrace that baby then. So when that child grows up, it's gonna feel good about itself. But again, it has to be a collaborative effort. Nobody is better than. Teachers are educated to teach, but they need parents too. And if parents aren't educated to the levels that they need to be, it's not gonna happen. So I'm just excited and very nervous. I know you probably can tell, but it just holds a lot of values that I hold to my heart. I know that children are great. They're born with we're all born with the same things if we're all blessed to have eyes and ears and nose. So we can all learn, but we've got to put forth an effort. So I'm just very happy to be a part of this. Thank you.
I'm a little nervous too. Good evening, everyone. My name is Deanna Wilson. I am right now the Parent Action Leader at the new Ford Academic Center, where I have a kindergartner. I also have a 9th grader at UPrep. And I used to be the Parent Action Leader at Burton Middle School. Couple little shout outs here. I am also a Parent University Ambassador. What is Parent University, you ask? I would love to tell you. Parent University started with parents, At a community meeting put on by Lincoln Believe to Become, a few parents decided that it would be an awesome idea to empower the already fabulous parents of the community and unite them with education to better their children's success. So Believe to Become and Grand Rapids Public Schools gathered together in a collaborative effort, and they came up with Parent University. Parent University's vision is that all parents are confident advocates in their children's success. Parent University believes that children can succeed, that the parents want to help their children succeed, and that the children have unlimited potential. Parent University wants to make this a reality in everyone's life. Everyone like who, you ask? Teachers, parents, staff members, board members, community workers. I think that covers everybody out here. Secretaries, okay, yeah. Secretaries, grandparents, aunts, uncles, everybody. That includes you. These classes are free. Yay! And they are offered in English and in Spanish. The classes come in 4 different categories. One of them is health and wellness, where there's classes like kickboxing and Zumba. Another one is navigating the educational system, where there's a class called Creating a Pipeline to College. I am signed up for that class. That class will help us learn how to prepare our kids for college. It's never too early to get started, so my kindergartner, I'll be attending that class for him. There's also a class or a category called Personal Growth and Development, where there are classes like Managing Behavior and Promoting Self-Discipline, where we will learn how the school uses the PBIS system or Personal Positive Behavior Intervention Support Program. And it'll give us examples of how we can use those tips, ideas at home. There's also Effective Parenting, where there are classes like, there's one on gain consciousness and how we can teach our children how to avoid making the wrong choices when they go out into the world without us. These are some of the classes that I've signed up for. I urge you guys to please, please sign up for a class today. How do you sign up for a class, you ask? Right in the middle of that red book, there is a registration form. You can fill out that registration form. Thank you, my lovely assistant. You can fill out that registration form, put it in the envelope that is there, and drop it in the mail. You can take it to the GRPS of your choice, and the secretaries there will take care of it. You can fax the form. You can also see one of these wonderful ladies in yellow shirts. We are gold shirts, you are right. We are more than willing and well equipped at helping you. And finally, you can use your smartphone, your tablet. You can go to grparentuniversity.org and you can sign up there as well. I have signed up for 3 classes. Please try to beat me. Thank you so much.
The impact of your input is imperative to the success of our students. Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, parents, and all the beautiful children I see in this audience. Let's give them a hand. A Chinese proverb, one of my favorites, implies that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. As a retired educator and a parent advocate, I took that single step with other parents. We dared to dream outside the box, when we committed to utilize our gifts, our talents, to bring to fruition a place where seasoned parents and educators could apply their wisdom to help other parents with their children's academic success. A parent university. Let's give that a hand clap. The single step towards this journey led me to answer the knock, knock, knock at my front door when in 2010, an excited link, I believe I become volunteer, handed me an invitation to a community meeting at the new Gerald R. Ford Academic Center. At the initial meeting, I met other parents, grandparents, community advocates with similar visions. And rather than place all the blame for our low graduating rates at GRPS on GRPS teachers, we agreed that the parent is the child's first teacher. We agreed that the parent is the child's first trainer. Moreover, most of us agree that parents and guardians may need assistance from seasoned parents in training their children. So consequently, in a collaborative effort, countless of community meetings later, in July 2013, I received a telephone call from B2B Willie Patterson, and I quote, "Mrs. Johnson, your efforts are paying off. A parent university is now approved," end quote. I'm excited about that. The partnership, the joint venture, and dream of B2B and GRPS and countless committed parents brought to fruition a place for our GRPS parents to advocate for our children's academic success. Ladies and gentlemen, children and friends, we are confident, powerful parents with the potential to help our children. Our voices were heard when on September the 12th, 2013, we launched Parent University, an interdependent initiative destined to equip, engage, and transform parents, their children, and Grand Rapids Public Schools toward academic excellence. Make every day count. Keep believing in our children as God blesses Grand Rapids Public Schools. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, can we give them another hand? This is why I enjoy coming to work. I get to work with wonderful parents like this all year long, and I hope that more and more of you are willing to stand up, to step up, to take the torch, and help us and volunteer at Grand Rapids Public Schools. This evening, you will have the opportunity to register for Parent University classes. There are Parent University catalogs on your tables. We have computers out in the hall. If you want to do it online, you can fill out the form on the paper copy. You can hand out your application, registration for classes to any of our gold shirt people tonight, and they will be glad to give it to us to hand in. And Miss Buchanan School, she wants to know that she had an event last night and she required her parents to sign up for class before they left, and she has brought me a whole stack of registrations. Thank you, and I hope to see you all at classes this fall. Yay! Here's our logo. We're all in this together. Thank you.
We don't have one student, we have a lot of students. Our children have friends that are students. job of serving and being there for our children. It's been an amazing journey, serving and working alongside them. I know that we're a little over time, so I'm going to do the acknowledgments and wrap us up. So let me first make an announcement that says immediately after we dismiss dessert is in the foyer area, so please go get some dessert. And as Jan said, definitely, if you haven't already registered for Parent University, please register for Parent University. Anyone in a gold shirt will be able to assist you with that process. You got it? So dessert immediately following our dismissal. So let me go through some of our acknowledgments. For the sake of time, we don't have time to go through every school. So let me first ask for all elementary schools present to just clap your hands. Elementary schools, are you in the house tonight? Oh, that's good. All right, now, K through 8 schools, you can just... All right, middle school. High school. They always try to be the loudest, don't they? Alternatives or any other type of school. Can you just put your hands together too? Well, everybody clap for them. How about that? All right. So now we have some special groups that we want to acknowledge, and I'm going to do them in clusters. And now when I call your cluster, I need you to pay careful attention to my instructions. Because one of my tasks for the evening was to make sure that all of you learn the vision statement for Parent University. So we're going to learn the vision statement collectively for the Parent University. So listen carefully to my instructions. The first group we want to acknowledge are the parents. Because without parents, none of this would be possible, and change for our children would be minimal. So we want to acknowledge any parent that's serving in any capacity, whether you're on the steering committee, whether you're a PAL, whether you're a part of the PTCCs, you're an ambassador, if you're in the room, you're a parent serving in any capacity, will you please just stand? Stand where you are. Parents serving in any capacity. Stay standing, because I'm going to give you some instructions. We are most delighted to have you present with us. So when I say the number 1, y'all say 1. 1. Parents only. This is for this group only. So number 1, when I say the number 1, all I need you to say are "we believe parents." You got it? So let's practice. 1. We believe parents. All right, now, I'm a black woman, so I need us to stay in rhythm as we're talking. We have to stay in rhythm. So are you ready? 1. All right, I think you got it. Okay, now go ahead and be seated. I'm going to have you stand up again in a minute. Let me just test you real quick. 1. Okay, now listen for your number. Now the second group of people we want to acknowledge are GRPS, which is a definite advocate for our children. The first person obviously is our wonderful superintendent, Teresa Weatherall-Neal. Then it's always a blessing to be under strong leadership. And might I add, strong woman leadership is even better. So we're glad about that. So we want to acknowledge the board of directors, the board of education. Anybody from the board present, will you please stand? Board members, welcome. Keep standing. You guys have to keep standing because I have a number for you too. So we have board members. We have anybody from cabinet or the administration, principals, assistant principals, deans of students, anybody in an administrative position in GRPS, will you please stand? Remain standing. Teachers! Teachers! Come on, teachers! Yay, teachers! Will you stand and remain standing? Anybody that's a facilitator of a class or in any capacity, any staff person in GRPS that I haven't called, will you stand? Wonderful. Now your number is 2. Say 2. All right, now your phrase is the verb. Okay, we're educators, right? Are confident advocates. Are you ready? So it's 2, and you say are confident advocates. You got it? 2. Are confident advocates. 2. Are confident advocates. Okay, y'all are smart people. You can sit down now. That's good. All right. So we have 1. They just failed. Okay, let's try this again. Parents, pay attention. 1. We believe parents. 2. Are confident well. So it's bringing along Believe to Become and our community partners together. So first we want to acknowledge Doug and Marie DeVos. Will you please stand? All right, we got it. All the staff at their foundation, anybody, you want to stand? Yay, we encourage you. Okay, now, Link, anybody from Link? Oh, we have 2, 3 people. All right, we got Link, KSSN workers and KSSN. All right, KSSN. Grand Representative, I don't know if you're still here. United Way, I heard you were here. Anybody? Summer Learning Providers, will you please stand? Summer Learning Providers. Any other community or social activists, you can stand with this group. Anyway, all right. So now do I have everybody? Good. So your number is 3. And your phrase is of their children's success. You got it? 3. Of their children's success. 3. Of their children's success. 3. Of their children's success. Okay, so now, okay, be seated for just a minute. All right, so let's just do it. Parents, I got to put you all on notice. Parents, pay attention. 1. 2. 3. Okay, we're almost there. We have one other thing that we need to learn. Now, when I say 4, this is for everyone in the room. You have it? 4 is for everyone in the room. I just need you to say, now is our time. Now is our time. Remember the rhythm part? Okay, here we go. 4. Now is our time. 4. Now is our time. Okay, so I think we have it. Does everybody have their parts? Okay, so now this time when I call your number, I need you to stand to your feet and I need you to shout as loud as you can what your phrase is. You got it? Everybody clear? I'm an educator today. Are you ready? Parents, I have to put you on notice. Parents, are you ready? Okay. 1. We believe parents. 2. Our 3. 4. All right, let's go one more time. One more time. Good. And this time when you say it, remain standing so you don't have to keep jumping up and down. Because you know we're a little older, so our knees can't handle that. So, all right, parents, are you ready, parents? All right, so jump up and remain standing. 1. We believe parents. 2. Our confident advocates. 3. All their children's success. That was kind of weak, didn't y'all think that? Okay, let's try this again for the slow people. Okay, 1. We believe parents. 2.